All righty. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of 1+1, your place for inconvenient truth-telling and myth-busting. So happy with the guests that we have on that we have on tonight. I have with me Ramzu Yunus of the Pendo Center for Self-Determination and Human Rights. And anyone who does follow the show closely knows that we've had Elaina Porter, member of the Pendo Center for Self-Determination and Human Rights before, which is a very strong African-American advocacy group, which is calling for a radical change in the system of the United States. So one where they seek true self-determination for the oppressed African descendants group in the U.S. rather than just the simple reforms which the more mainstream groups advocates. And very happy to have Ramzu on. Elaina spoke very highly of him. He's my guest, so let's get into it. So first of all, Ramzu, thank you for coming on the program.
Yes, thank you. Correction, everyone always say Ramzu, even though my name is Ramzu. It's Ramzu though.
Okay, Ramzu. Ramzu Yunus. Okay, perfect. All right. Just before I get to my first question, was that a very good, accurate description of describing the Pendo Center for Self-Determination and Human Rights?
Actually, I'm an ally of the Pendo Center. I'm not the actual member, so I guess you can call me an honorary member of it since I'm a comrade. We all work together, so I wouldn't argue that. But our group is called Human Rights Policy Officers, that I actually belong to. But yes, you could call me a member as well as the Pendo Center. I work close with Elaine, whatever she's got going. I'm in support of whatever I do. She's in support of. We're all together. Basically like a confederation, we're working together. No matter if we belong to a separate organization, all the organizations really are at one in our movement for self-determination. We have the same goal.
Actually, and that's actually a perfect segue to before we get to your background, that's a perfect segue to this question, which is talk to us a bit about your background and tell us about your organization, what people should know about the organization, and then after the program, as I upload this to YouTube, you can send me the link to the organization so I can put it in the pinned comments section. So so talk to us about your background and the organization that you're officially part of, that that you run.
My background, wow. That's an interesting story, but in a nutshell, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody that they have the power to do something and change something for everybody by utilizing the collective. But me personally, I guess I call it the Malcolm X story in America. A lot of us as youth, we end up going down the wrong path. I went down the wrong path as a youth. I ended up in prison as a teenager and got out in my early 20s. And in prison, that's when I became conscious of the Black struggle. I had questions of why was I in prison? Why did poverty lead me to sell drugs and so forth? And who put me in that? Was that condition caused by someone else or some people because of the system, so to speak? And so I just dedicated myself to making sure that system is changed, making sure the condition of our people is changed by any means necessary. So upon release, I got involved in various organizations to organize for justice for Black people. I was too young to actually know what to do, but anything making noise, I was joining on with it. But quickly I realized that most things were just making noise. There was no concrete plan behind a lot of the organizations. If you just ask any of the leaders, well-established leaders, what's the plan? They don't actually have a plan beyond just making a lot of noise. That just seems to be the thing in America. As our leaders, they're popular for making noise, for speaking. They're not popular for liberating anything, really. So I quickly learned, like, man, I'm too young to know what to do. And I know that they now don't even have a plan. So I've kind of just got discouraged and demoralized, if you can say that, I guess. But as soon as I witnessed Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, his party, what they were doing, it started in 2000 with the land reclamation program, where they was, all of a sudden I read And I think it was in the Final Call newspaper I read that they were taking land back from the white settlers and giving it to the people. So I said, well, that's a concrete move. That's something I like that. So I said, I'm going to Africa. You know, I was already I would say a fan of, but Marcus Garvey was my hero, one of my biggest heroes, and he had the Back to Africa movement. So I always wanted to go to Africa just because of Marcus Garvey's movement, the UNIA. So I said, well, that's where I go. I didn't have anywhere to go in Africa because I felt a lot of the African leadership had then became sellouts. They were afraid of the West. Most of the leaders were puppets. But when I saw that move by Robert Mugabe, I said, hey, that's where I go. I just go to Africa. That's something actually concrete going on. And we're from Africa. You know, I'm an Afro-Descendant. So I
Actually, wait 1 second, Ramzu. You're
Zimbabwe.
Actually, wait 1 moment. Okay, I think your internet's fine again. Okay, can you repeat what you said because the internet got a bit cut off?
Oh, sorry about the situation here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I just said I moved to Zimbabwe. I saw action going on there. I was a youngster, disillusioned. I didn't know what to do. I saw the leadership in America was just full of rhetoric, no plan, just making a lot of noise. And I saw something happening in Africa. Mugabe and his party in Zimbabwe was taking the land back, actually, and giving it to the people. I said, man, I want to get involved in that. So I went in there just seeking to get involved any kind of way possible and moved to Africa, really. And eventually I ended up working with Mugabe himself in his office, doing various things. My first entrance into helping Zimbabwe was bringing in fuel. I raised money, investment money to bring in petroleum, gasoline, and diesel because they were hit with a crisis because of the sanctions. I helped with that and try to get into the agriculture and various things that could help the country out. And I ended up working with the president himself. But I was always, and my movement became Exodus, telling everybody just to come to Africa, particularly Zimbabwe. Let's just get out of America, period. But certain things happened after all those years, and some events happened, and I made the decision, you know what? I learned a lot by working with this party. I learned what to really struggle for. Yeah. Now I know that there should be a plan, there can be a plan, and that the only struggle that people struggle for, real revolutionaries, was for self-determination, and that will solve all the problems. Just stand up and exercise the right to just govern where we live ourselves, become our own independent nation. Beyond the rhetoric, because even organizations I was already a part of was talking that same talk, but there were no concrete steps. So I decided to come back to America. Black
Actually, 1 moment. I think we're having a bit of internet connection problems again. But I heard you. But if I heard you correctly, he moves back to America and started to organize. And yeah, go on from there.
Yes, I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah.
I'm in Central African Republic, everyone. This is considered like the poorest country in the world in the internet infrastructure and so forth. Communications.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I decided to move back and organize for Black. I decided to move back and organize for self-determination, for people to assert the right of self-determination. Well, first, to teach the people what self-determination is and that we do have that right. We can simply just stand up if everybody's in agreement, or the majority where we live, whatever neighborhood or whatever city, if we can get the majority of Black people to agree that we want to govern ourselves independently, we actually have the right to stand up and just take political control, to assert that control. So I began organizing that in Detroit, which is considered the Blackest city in America. So that's my background. That's what we're doing.
Okay, and I think Elaina said to me that you were part of a campaign called the Free Detroit Movement. Is that correct, or?
I mean, people give it various names because we are in Detroit, but it's just self-determination for Black people, which are considered Afro-Descendants in international law. It's just independence for us. And you have to start somewhere. So I decided, let's just make an example in the city of Detroit, since it's the Blackest city, it's like 90% Black. And of course, you can get everybody to agree to independence, because independence will bring the people monetary reparations. Independence can bring the people free housing. So it's an easy and plan. Detroit is not only the blackest city, but it's the only major city to ever go bankrupt. It has an extreme high poverty rate in Detroit. So we chose the to send and say only Detroit people, but for all Black people, we're just making an example in Detroit.
Yes, and I know Detroit has faced a lot of economic decline, much of it because a lot of the auto industry, which used to be the pillar of sort of working class America, at least working class America having a much better affluent existence, and a lot of the Black working class, although they were always, although there was always the issue of racism, them not being paid the same way, but there was sort of a Black Mecca and a Black, and the Black middle class that was in Detroit, thanks to the auto industry and many working in the auto industry. But because of successive auto companies outsourcing and going over to Mexico and China and so forth for cheap labor, that has that's been very devastating for the people of Michigan, Wisconsin, particularly the Black population there. So
indeed, that's it.
And the organization that you run, what's the name of that organization?
It's Human Rights Policy Offices.
Okay, perfect. And now talk to me now what is this that that I read about, that you were in some legal troubles. Talk to us about that, and where can people go to help to help you in your fight against the powers to be who are targeting you for political reasons. And explain that.
Yes, of course, whenever you are trying to struggle against oppression, you're struggling against oppression because the system is corrupt, it's doing something wrong. The system doesn't follow the rules. So they're not going to follow the rules. So anybody that rises up to oppose that and to assert something different, like their human rights, for instance, those who are violating the human rights are going to violate in other ways. That includes trying to arrest you and assault you and stop what you're doing, and ultimately trying to kill you, or to ultimately kill you, actually. So they've made a numerous of arrests. Like recently, just last year, I was arrested 2 or 3 times, but I was released with no charges because they don't have any charges. One of the last charges was they was trying to silence. They had an injunction for me not to speak, not to tell the people of Detroit that the city is theirs, it belongs to them. Even though the city charter, number one thing it says in Detroit is that the government is a service institution that's in subordination to the people of Detroit. So I quoted that to the people, said, look, they are under your orders. We just have to collectively give those orders. I was teaching the people, look, we have a right of self-determination. If we don't agree with the way things are running, collectively, we can take over the city and govern it ourselves. We can give ourselves the free housing. Detroit has hundreds of thousands of empty properties. Yet 40,000 people in Detroit are literally homeless, and 80% or more are functionally homeless. Why there's empty properties everywhere. So who's ownership, who has rightful ownership of those homes? The people of the city. And if somebody tries to take ownership of the city and it's in our city, we can take control of that city and to have eminent domain and take those properties for the people of the city. So we just explaining to people that they have the right to do that, and we are asserting that right. They blockaded when we had thousands of people gathering downtown, and they knew it was a wrap from there. Once, because power's in the people. If you have thousands and thousands of people gathering downtown, you can easily just topple the so-called regime there, the local regime. So they blockaded the downtown, stopping people from peacefully assembling, which it was okay with me because they gave us some assistance. By doing that, they now became null and void themselves. They now became invalidated. They made themselves wrong and illegal as existing as an entity called government, because they were stopping people from even assembling to oppose and to express their political will. So now we just assume control. We had a unilateral declaration of independence. That's legal. In law, you can have unilateral declarations of independence. Ukraine, who's at war right now, they did a unilateral declaration of independence. The United States founding fathers did a unilateral declaration of independence. They said, look, we represent the people, we declare independence so we can give our people some justice and a better life. So in law, we have Kosovo did the same thing, and most countries are following, most independence movements are following the Kosovo example, because the International Court of Justice passed a ruling and said, look, a unilateral declaration of independence by a people who are oppressed and done wrong, especially if they are violated, that's acceptable in law. They can just declare independence. So that's what we did in Detroit. We declared independence and we're assuming control over the city. Right now, we're taking homes and giving a home to the people who it belongs to. It's ours. We run that now. We're just building capacity as we speak so that we can actually have enough of our law enforcement on the streets to make sure that the right of self-determination can be asserted and that they cannot oppose it and stop the people from enjoying that right.
So at the moment, and then so you were preaching all of this, and then they arrested you on trumped up charges. What were the trumped up charges, and what's the current and what are your current legal
Oh yes, okay. Well, the last charge was just an injunction for me to be silent, for me to stop saying that the city belongs to the people. Stop telling the people that they have a right of self-determination and that they have the power that they actually have. Don't say that. Don't do that. Don't, you're interfering with city business. They say we have the department scared because they claim I gave orders to our followers and the people to kill them if they try to, which I didn't give orders. I said, you have a right. If somebody tries to take you out of your homes, you have a right to. You do have a right to do what is necessary to stop them. So I'm telling people, look, do whatever's necessary. But matter of fact, I will do it for you. Call us and we will do it for you, because they don't have a right to kick you out of a home. This city belongs to us. Just like if I went and tried to take somebody out of their home, they have a right to shoot me. Okay. Or call law enforcement to do that for them. So we're telling people it belongs to them. So they put a gag order out to stop promoting our program of self-determination. And so I didn't honor that. So then they arrested me for holding another peaceful assembly. So they arrested me for continuing to speak. And
do they say things like, like when they talk to their friends in the ghoulish corporate press, did they say things like Mr. Yunus is calling for violent insurrection? And I know, during the Obama administration, the FBI had this thing where they wanted to target what they called Black identity extremists. Mm-hmm. Yes. So is your organization part of that list, and are you on like some kind of like an FBI watch list or something like that, or?
Oh yes, of course. I'm sure we're probably number one on that list, because we're actually, as one government official, when we had meetings with them, said, look, you are actually progressive in this movement. You're not just saying it, being an identity extremist with words. You're actually trying to take over a city, actually, and taking over properties and stuff. So of course, we're probably number one on the list, because we are probably the only group that's actually asserting, not just talking about it, but asserting the right of self-determination. And as our video, we have it on video. The FBI admitted that they have been interfering with what we've been doing. They've interfered with my flights. I'm detained every time I try to take a flight at the airport. And when I try to leave or when I return, I'm detained. They admitted that. It's on camera. The FBI agents, Brand and Ertman, the local FBI agents out of Detroit, they detained me before and told me about the movement I was engaged in. They read out a few laws to me. One law was sedition. And the other law was exciting sedition. And the other law was registering as a foreign agent, because they know I work with different governments. But they admitted, said, no, you're not practicing sedition. I asked them, I said, look, do we have a right to take over the city? They said, yes, but do you know how many people you need to do that? And I said, I'm not worried about the people. I can get the people. Then they asked me, could I defeat the media? And I knew right then they were going to use the media to attack me. So they used the media to call me everything, a scam artist, even though we never asked for any money. They calling me a scam artist. So when people hear the word scam artist, they like, hey, I don't want to talk to that guy. He's scamming people out of money, but we don't even ask for money. So they got the news, local Fox News, all of those news agencies to actually practice defamation, which Fox News know because the government is giving them that, telling them the order to defame me. They're not going to be charged legally for doing such an unlawful act. So they had to have a campaign of defamation to try to run the people, because power's in the people, as the FBI agent said. As long as you have enough people, they know we can get the people because we're telling the people they can have free houses. Who don't want free houses? We're telling the people they can get reparations, monetary reparations, by taking over the city. The city is worth $600 billion in devalued real estate alone. We can leverage that and give everybody monetary reparations. So who would not agree with that plan?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I would agree with that plan.
One second.
So it's easy for us to get the.
Wait, 1 second, Ramzu. We're having internet connection problems again. Okay, perfect. Say what you were saying again.
Yes, obviously that's why it's easy for us to rally the people, because we letting the people know how they can benefit. They can actually have reparations, get monetary reparations, because the city is valued at hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars. They can actually have free housing because there's hundreds of thousands of empty properties in the city, and it's all a political decision. We got political control. We can say, look, even the house you're already in is free, no more mortgage. We can make that decision as a government. So who wouldn't agree with that decision? Everybody would agree with that. So it's easy for us to attract the masses, and we have been attracting the masses. So now their campaign is an attack. They're not hurting me personally, they're hurting the masses from benefiting by telling the masses lies that we are a scam artist. Ramzu comes into town, the city attorney got on the TV and on social media and on television media saying he comes into town like a snake oil salesman. Please don't listen to him. So they have to come out and do such attacks because the masses, of course, are listening. They just have to understand that, look, this is their right. I'm not making anything up. This is how the United States was formed itself, by declaring independence and asserting the right of self-determination.
And what's the current what's your current status with the with your legal troubles? Like, is it all done now, or is there still yeah?
No, we still have legal problems. They stay after me. They stay after me, but I'm not going in alive, so to speak. They gotta take me in another kind of way. I definitely won't be alive if they taking me in. They don't have a right. I have a lawful right to oppose them. This is basically, it's a liberation struggle according to international law. This is a liberation struggle. Struggle is just a soft word for saying war. This is literally war. And it's a lawful war. It's nothing seditious. If we declare our independence and we get the support of the population, anything they do to oppose that, to try to arrest me, they're trying to take me as a political prisoner. They're trying to take my life. So I can oppose that by any means. Any means is lawful.
All right.
So yeah, I'm still in legal trouble according to an illegitimate system. But according to international law, they are in trouble. They are violating.
All righty. Well, I hope all goes well with the in your quest to fight off fight off the powers that be. Do make sure to send me any contact information, and of course the link to your organization, so that I can put it on the website, so that people can get in touch if they want to help you out with your legal woes. And then I have to ask this question. So what to you is self-determination for the African, for Afro-descendants in the United States? And how would, because you're talking about, an entire Black community, in Detroit, declaring independence. So what would that look like, self-determination, and this sort of new nation that you envision and that your organization advocates?
Okay, it looks just like every other nation looks. Or even on a city level, a city is a miniature nation itself. It has a president called a mayor. It has a Congress or a parliament called the city council. It's not going to change make the place ungovernable and everything in disarray or chaotic. It's just a switch of power. Who's running the thing? Running the affairs, the political affairs, and a change in policies. So now, instead of people having to pay taxes, there won't be any taxes. Instead of the people having to be evicted from homes and pay for housing, housing will be free. Electricity would be free because we run the political apparatus now. It's the same as it is, but it just be new policies. And of course, the people will be doing better. There won't be a police force out there wrongfully convicting people, assassinating members of the community. There won't be any poverty, so people won't even be committing crimes. Poverty is the mother of crime. That's been a philosophical saying for over 2,000 years. That's a social science. It's proven in social science that poverty creates crime. So if you change the economic system of a city where the people don't have to pay for housing, struggle to pay for housing, they're not being gentrified, they're not struggling for jobs. For instance, in Detroit, we're spending $90+ million per week on food alone, and none of it is made in Detroit. What if we had a policy where that food has to be produced in Detroit? So now Detroit is making $90+ million per week. That's 100% employment it creates, and that's a community of wealth. So everybody's wealthy because we make $90+ million per week. So it's just a matter of changing policies. So that's what we're talking about. We're just going to change policies. Everybody living for free instead of paying $319 million per year on electricity. We'll take from the city budget and spend $250 million one time to have free alternative electricity forever. So no, people don't have to worry about housing. They don't have to worry about electricity and utilities. So it's a whole different life. That can easily be done. It can be done easily. It's just that this system is ran by capitalists who want to make the few want to make money off. So Detroit is running better and benefiting the people. And you won't see homelessness. You won't see the despair. You won't see the poverty.
Wow, that sounds fantastic.
You won't see the crime.
That sounds fantastic. And when you were explaining, you were saying something about the city being run by capitalists. Can you say that again? Yeah. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, like no, the capitalist system, it seeks to just make money off the few, making money off of the masses. You see. So now that means we spend $90+ million a week on food. That $90+ million a week on food, if it was an alternative system and not others capitalizing off of the people in Detroit, now the $90+ million worth of food is manufactured in Detroit. And now we spending that money back with ourselves. It's rotating, it's circulating in the city. It's not going out capital flight to benefit some elite capitalist group. And capitalism always has an elite group at the top. So we're going to change that situation where we are benefiting as a community ourselves.
That sounds fantastic, and power to the people. Hope it all, hope you're able to accomplish that. And then I have to ask, in the short term, in the short term, I have to ask then these questions, which is, where do you stand on the on the police? Are you for reforming the police, or for abolition of the police, and why one or the other?
I mean, I believe in having a police force in our own system. I'm not a reformist of the American system. When you say you're a revolutionary, it means you want to change the whole system. A reformist thinks the system can be changed. I don't think the system can be changed. And I don't want it. I want our own system. I have a right to have my own system. They never afforded me as a Afro-Descendant, as a descendant of slaves. I'm sure if they asked the first slave, the person that they first conquered and enslaved, and said, what do you want? You want to remain in my system, or you want to go back to your own sovereign rights and your own self-government? That slave would have said, that conquered person would have said, I want to go back to self-government, govern myself. I want to remain under your system. How can I trust you when you enslaved me and conquered me in the first place? That means your system is flawed. It's for you, not for me. So I'm not seeking to reform this system. So yeah, I believe in a police force, our own police force in our own system. So I don't involve myself in trying to reform and marching to disband police, disband the whole thing. We want our own.
Okay, that's brilliant. And but then in the short term, because long term, you would like to see radical self-determination for the for the Black diaspora in the U.S. But in the short term, would you like to see I assume you definitely would like to see, that loophole in the 13th Amendment repealed, the Clinton crime bill repealed, and then to the drug war and stuff like that. Are there any black, but of course, you don't believe that, that America can be reformed, that there needs to be a whole new change in the conversation from the self-determination of black people and other colonized people. But but then I'm wondering, are you aware of any of the big black advocacy groups in Michigan talking at least about ending the drug war, repealing that loophole in the 13th Amendment, and repealing the Clinton crime bill? Or
I don't even involve myself in those situations. I'm a revolutionary. Revolutionary has blinders on. He only sees revolution. He only sees self-determination. He only sees independence, or she only sees independence. That's all I see. I don't see any other conversation. I don't see those conversations. I don't acknowledge those conversations. Those, to me, are foolish people, or insane people doing the same thing over and over again, never to receive any result. And in the meantime, our people are dying while they keep running on that treadmill or that hamster wheel. So I don't see those conversations. I don't see those groups. All those groups, to me, are absolutely foolish. So I don't know. I can't name a group. I just put all of them in one basket, and that's called fools.
Your words, not mine. then it's interesting because I imagine then that you want to try to take this internationally, because you say that you've worked with the the government of Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe. And I imagine you probably want to follow the tradition of Malcolm X and Paul Robeson, which is to try to bring the plight of the Black diaspora to an international level. So is that one of the things you're trying? Is that one of the campaigns you're trying to do to meet to meet different heads of state, or at least talk to international audience and say, we are a colonized people. We have the right to self-determination, just as Scotland or Quebec or Catalans in Spain, and you mentioned Kosovos and even those in eastern Ukraine who don't want to be part of the current regime.
Mm. I'm talking Ukraine is at war in 1991. They declared independence. They said we were proceeding from our right of self-determination. They declared independence in 1991. Not the ones trying to split from Ukraine and have split from Ukraine. I'm talking about Ukraine as a state itself. They formulated as Ukraine in 1991 by saying, look, we have a right of self-determination. They did a unilateral Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence consists of like one or two sentences, maybe one huge sentence. It wasn't a long Declaration of Independence like the United States. So yes, I'm not seeking any help, but just making these different nations. So America can't just try to wipe us out and say we just a nuisance. No, this is a legitimate movement of self-determination in America. And if anybody else wants to prosper, all the other nations want to prosper anyway, they would have to have Black people in America rise up, because our support of America is what gives America the strength to do its corruption and wickedness around the earth. So they should want to see Black people self-determined. It's like America wanted to see the different nations of the Soviet Union assert their right of self-determination in order to weaken the Soviet Union. That's why they promoted that. So other nations should want to see us strong in America, so America wouldn't have as much strength to do its wickedness around the world and practice its imperialism around the world. But yeah, I'm not trying. We are already on the international level because we're asserting our right of self-determination. We're dealing with an international human right that even the United States has submitted to, is subordinate to. So we're already on that level. I don't need to appeal for others to legitimize us. We're legitimate whether they recognize us or not. But I am seeking relation to doing certain things. Yes.
Yeah, because that may be true, but you'll still need how can I say? I mean, you'll still need, the help of, of international bodies to at least, how can I say? I mean, even if whatever current head of state doesn't agree with the idea of a, of African American self determination, but you'll still need a lot of allies in the international community to champion your cause, right?
Yeah, yes, that would help. That would definitely help. I never say need because that puts us in a weak position saying we can't do it if they don't. We can do it if they don't. Many nations have been independent without the international community's recognition. Look at Taiwan, for instance. So we don't, but we do want them to, and I'm sure they will. The whole world, the majority of the world hates America. The majority of the world knows the wickedness and the evil of America and other European countries. They know that. They're just afraid. So they will be happy to see us rise. We already have allies on our side. Yes. So of course, once they recognize what's actually going on, they say, yeah, we will champion that.
Okay, interesting. And but and then I have to ask, this question. While I have you on, is what is the state of affairs for Native Americans in a place like Michigan, and do you think that they would be attracted into joining this this new state that you would that you would want to build, given that they also have a lot of historical grievances and of course they also have the right to practice their rights of self-determination, since all of the land of of what they call Turtle Island was stolen from them. So how would so how would Native Americans fare under this new state that you would like to see, at least in Michigan?
Yes, well, they will enjoy their sovereign rights as well. We do work with some groups of indigenous tribes. They are working with us and have participated in what we're doing. So we have their full support as well. Some of the main
wait 1 second, Ramzu. We're having a problem.
American group.
Hold on. We're having problems with the internet connection again. Okay, I think it's working again. So continue with what you're saying.
Yeah, some of the mainstream groups may not be aware of what we're doing because they are exercising their right of self-determination to the extent that they have agreed to. You can assert your right of self-determination and agree to certain terms that others might not agree to. So their assertion of self-determination, the terms they agreed to, was the reservations that they have. But some of the population didn't agree with their leadership's decision to compromise their self-determination or to lower their self-determination to that rung of just being reservations, so to speak. But a lot of different groups we are working with, and they are in full support of what we're doing.
Okay, that's very interesting. Actually, can you explain a bit more about that?
Well, as far as Native American or indigenous people working with us, it's just a matter of freeing. You have to assert your right and take control. You can say I'm indigenous and I have these rights, but you have to have a force, a massive group of people to stand up and say, look, you can't. So it requires numbers. So if we add to they can add to the numbers and we add to the numbers, we strengthen each other with the numbers. Now, once we have control of the land away from tyrants, then we can even share. Look, you all can go over here, go over there, or we can live together peacefully. Then we can make those decisions. We have to just collectively stand up, and strength is in numbers.
Okay, perfect. That sounds interesting. And well, because we're having so much internet connection problems, which is a pity, I'm going to have to cut this interview short, unfortunately. But I definitely want to have you back on again, because I want to explore more the work that you did with the Mugabe government, because there are a lot of people that have criticisms of Robert Mugabe. So that would be a very interesting conversation. And I do want to explore more about how, how this new state, which sounds like a very fantastic, Black socialism state, would function. but while I still have you, yeah. So we're gonna end. So we're gonna end the show. So we're gonna end the show early. But first, we usually end the program with the Marcel Proust Bernard Pivot questionnaire, which James Lipton of Inside the Actor Studio said. So here it goes, and hopefully there's no internet problems. So Ramzu, what is your favorite words?
My favorite words is self-determination.
What's your least favorite word?
Slavery.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Love.
What turns you off?
Hate.
What's your favorite curse word?
I don't curse. I stopped cursing in '94, many years ago.
Really? Not one?
Since I stopped cursing in 1994.
Well, what was your favorite curse word back then? And you don't have to say it. You could just say the F word or.
I don't even know. Maybe the F word.
Okay, the F bomb. What sound or noise do you love?
The type of noise do I laughter?
What sound or noise do you hate?
Crying.
And what profession, if you weren't doing what you were doing, would you like to attempt?
Astronaut.
Okay. And what profession would you not like to do under any circumstances?
A toilet bowl cleaner.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Job well done.
Well, we were joined on this edition of 1+1 with Ramzu Yunus. Ramzu, I'm very sorry that we had so many problems with the internet connection, but you know what? We're going to do this. When you go back to when you go back to the U.S., please get in touch with me, or I'll try to get in touch with you in 2 weeks' time, and then we're going to do this and then we're going to have another interview where I'm going to explore deeper self-determination. We're gonna and then we're gonna have other interesting conversations, like your time in Zimbabwe, and I want you also to educate our audience about Marcus Garvey and some of the heroes that you admire who are seldom taught in schools, and if they are taught, it's a very tiny sliver. So until then, we were joined on this edition of 1+1 with Ramzu Yunus. Ramzu, thank you so much for joining me. And it was an honor to speak to you.
Likewise. And everyone can find out what we're doing via detroitgov.us, detroitgov.us as well. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me, Youri.
Perfect. It was an honor to speak to you.